Hey guys, welcome back to Linda's Resin Room. I have this angel mold from Let's Resin. I bought this a little while back and I've been thinking of what I want to do with it. And I think I know. It's took me a little bit. So I want to paint the wings with this metallic powder Merrick Gold. Now she has a ribbon that's attached to her clothing here that I want to do in this Rolo purple. And then her hair I want to do in the antique copper. I'm not going to paint her face or her arms or anything because I might do some little purpley flower pieces through that, because the bottom I want to fill with flowers and maybe do some lights in there. We'll see. So I'm going to try to turn this inside out. Hopefully I can. That way I can paint this up. I don't know if it'll turn all the way inside out or not, but I'm going to try. I've been wanting this mold for a long time. It's not going to. Okay, so it's going to be a little difficult to paint up exactly how I want it if I do it that way. So we're going to have to paint it this way, guys. All right. I'm going to put you on a time lapse as I do this, and then I'll see you after. All right, guys, so I mixed up a total of 200 grams of resin, 95 part B, 105 part A for 200 grams. I put a little bit of these lavender in there, but it's all I see is green. It's like lost all of its purple color. So I'm going to put some of this gold foil in there. I think a little bit of this will look nice. Let's see if we can get some of this down in there. You don't need much. And I don't think we'll see a lot of this just because of I painted the mold. I don't need a whole lot. Hook that down in there. It's too much, too much, too much. Okay. See if we can get that piece off. Okay. A little bit of this goes a long way. All right, give me a stick here. See if I can crunch that up and get it to mix up. I am going to put this in the debubbler before I pour it down in there, because there's a lot of little areas. I don't want to spritz alcohol in there because I painted the mold up. Okay, I think that's enough. And I'm going to add, I want a drop of purple. So let's see. Let's try this Aronia Resin Ink by Octopus Fluids. Give it a little, oop, there's 1, 2. All right, it's about 2.5 drops. That first one was hardly anything. Just want a little hint of purple. Yeah, I think that'll help. Actually, it might be a little too dark, but what can I do about it now? All right, guys, I'm going to throw this in the debubbler, and I will be back shortly, and we'll pour this in. I'll see you guys in just a bit. All right, guys, so I have had this in the debubbler for 10 minutes. So all the bubbles have been taken out. Now, let's just slowly pour this in here. And hopefully we don't get no bubbles down in there. And it's not painted very thick, so I think you're going to be able to see through it. And this is just 90 grams of resin. I think it's going to be plenty to fill that bottom part to where I want it. And leave the bottom skirt open in order to fill with flowers. which we'll do after this cures, of course. You don't want to fill this mold all the way up at one time, or you'll probably end up with a flash cure. It's got to be done in layers. Even the skirt will have to be done in layers. And I will use a deep pour resin for that. So I think the deep pour I have can be poured up to 4 inches. It's just going to take a while to cure completely. Deep pour takes a little bit longer. Okay, just going to clean my stick off here. So now I'm going to inspect this. Try to get some of that resin that's on my hands off. Take these gloves off. All right, now let me inspect. I don't see any bubbles down in there. And it's filled. I could have used just a touch more, I think. But I think we're good for where we're at. The face is going to be purple because I filled it up with purple resin. Alrighty. Yeah, it's okay. We'll let this cure up. Once it's cured, we'll come back and do the next part. I'll see you guys then. Hey guys, so this part of the angel has cured up. What I did is I just filled it with a bunch of flowers. I know it's got pieces in there and I'm not worried about that because when we pour it with resin, those will mix right in. But that has cured. So what I'm going to do is somebody had suggested that you dip the flowers in the resin, let them cure, and then you put them in your piece. So I'm going to mix these flowers in this 8 ounces of resin that I have mixed up, and hopefully I don't break them all to pieces. And then I'm going to put it in the debubbler, and then I'm going to get it out and set them on this mat. I'll clean it back up and let them cure up before we put this piece together. Maybe I shouldn't have done so many at one time. These are, there's a big bag of flowers. It's colorful daisies. So there's some purple ones and some yellow and some orange ones. And it's just really pretty mixture. Okay, and when I dip these out, I'll dip them out of the bottom first, just to make sure I get them good and coated. So I don't think it'll really matter if I put them in the debubbler. We'll end up doing it this way. Get those others in there. I just want them really good and coated. Yeah, I'm not going to put them in the debubbler. They're not going to need that. I do want to clean this mess up. Where's my... Get all this resin that I've got on here up. And then let's see if I can get those pieces back in this bag. So I can always use those for something else. Okay. How'd I do? Yeah, pretty good. Still a couple of little pieces. All right. Now let me clean this mat off. I'm just going to take my paper towel and just kind of clean this off a little bit here. Or actually, it's baby wipe, not a paper towel. Okay, now let's see if I can start getting these, and I'm just going to lay them out whichever way I think is the prettiest. I've got quite a few in here. Someone said it's better to do them this way before you put them in your piece. I don't remember who it was. Somebody had made the comment. So I'm going to try it. I still may be doing it wrong. If I am, you know who you are. Let me know. Can't tell which way's prettier on that one. I think I like that side better. It's the back side, but just dipping them in the resin. And I may not be able to fit all of these in there once I get all this done with all the resin on it. So if not, we'll make something else with the ones that are left over some other time. We can always put them up and save them for later. Trying to let some of that excess resin drip off. Oh, isn't that pretty? I'd like to put lights in this, but I don't know if I'll be able to glue them to the flowers before I put them in there or not. Can't get him off. Come on, little dude. There you go. I think I'm going to take and move some of these that have drained a little bit and try to get some of that excess resin picked up instead of just letting it puddle. That's a lot of resin. I just don't want the flowers to be too wide in resin that they're not going to fit into my piece. I am making a mess. That is for sure. That one's pretty too, isn't it? Those two kind of look alike. Try to pick some of this up. Ooh! Just dropped the stick. I told you guys, I am one of the clumsiest people that God has ever created, I believe. Now these over here is going to need to drain, so I'm going to put them over here to where I will still have room to move them over there once they drain a little bit. Alright guys, I'm just going to put the video on pause, finish doing this, and we'll come back when it's ready. I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright guys, so my flowers have cured up and I've pulled them off. So what I want to do is I want to make them into a ball to fit down in there and try to glue with some UV resin these lights onto the flowers. Stick them in there, mix up some deep pour resin and pour in it. That's my plan. Will it work? I don't know, but I'm going to try it. Alright guys, I'm going to see if I can get this done, and I'm going to do it on a time lapse because I'm got my UV resin, my little light, and then I'll put it under the big light for 5 minutes once I get it glued how I want it and all together. And then we'll put it down in there, fill it with resin after I come back from the time lapse. So I'll see you guys shortly. Alright guys, so I've had these under the light for 5 minutes after I glued them on there. I still have some left over that I didn't have enough flowers to go through. But what I did is I glued 2 flowers between each light. And now I'm just going to see if I can get these to fit down in here. And hopefully I can get them. I can't see. I want them turned to where the flowers are around the edge. There we go. Okay. I think I've about got that down in there. Okay. And I'm just going to keep rolling this around because I want the flowers to really show on the outside, and then whatever's left I'll put on the inside. I've mixed up, how much resin? 240 gram of resin, of a 2-to-1 resin. It is a deep pour resin because of this is going to be a deep pour. And the resin that I'm using can be poured up to 4 inches. So that is good. I'm just going to push some of those down in there. Put the prettier ones on the outside. Okay. I'm just trying to fit all these flowers in here without having them hang over the main top. Is the idea. Okay. I turned around there and there. Alright, and then I'm just going to try to get these lights stuck down in there, and I may have to take some UV resin to get them to stay. I hope not, but I don't want them floating out. Turn that back around. And I hope this doesn't move once I start pouring my resin in. And I do want my light to stick out a little bit, so I'm going to do that there. I'm going to get my UV. And I'm going to put a little bit right down on that. And take my light down in there. And get this to glue up. Alright guys, I'm going to put you back on a hold once my resin is out of the debubbler, which is going everywhere. I'll be back in just a minute. Okay guys, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'm really bad to put deep pour resin in the debubbler, and it doesn't like it apparently, because every time I do it, doesn't matter how little or how much I have, it bubbles over everywhere. So this is what I got. A mess. So I'm going to have to try to get all of this cleaned out. And as I'm cleaning it out, I want it to sit for a minute to see if it'll clear up some. So I'm just going to see if I can get this out. So I'll be back in just a minute after I clean this up. See you guys shortly. All right, guys. So this resin I would not recommend to get. It is a deep pour resin. After I pour this, I will show you guys what resin it is so you know not to ever buy it. It bubbles up so much. I've had this in the debubbler watching it and releasing pressure, release pressure, let it go, release pressure. And all it does is continuously make more and more bubbles. It's done nothing but make more bubbles than what I had in it originally. So we're just going to have to go ahead and pour it. All right. But I will never buy this resin again. And just so you guys know, you probably want to avoid it also if you're going to try to get rid of the bubbles. I'm just going to slowly pour this in here and let it kind of get down in there. I did put just one drop of the Octopus Fluid Resin Inks Sun in this resin. And I also put just a smidgen amount of the, let me turn it around so you can see it, Gold Super Sparkle by Color Passion in this resin. Because I've not had this resin very long. I've only used it once or twice, and it's done the same thing every time I've used it in the debubbler. Just creates more and more bubbles. But it's already turning yellow. And I've not, like I said, I've not had this resin very long at all. It shouldn't already be turning yellow. I feel like that needs to kind of go down in there a little bit more maybe. But yeah, this probably isn't going to be the best piece because the resin is just absolutely horrible. It's going to need a lot more resin than this. This is just a first pour. I'll probably have to mix up some more. Because I don't even see where it's at down in there. And you can see all those little micro bubbles. Okay, let's scrape this out. This resin will be cured by tomorrow also. Deep pour usually takes about 3 days. This one doesn't. Makes me just wonder if it's just a 2-to-1 resin and they've labeled it deep pour by accident maybe. I don't know. But I know I will never use it again. If anybody's got some suggestions on a good deep pour, please leave a comment. Something I can get off of Amazon in the US. Because I don't mind ordering from across seas. I do order a lot of stuff from places in other countries. But I'd like to get some that I can get sooner than have to wait so long to get. Because usually I have to wait a couple of weeks if I get something somewhere else. And I really need more deep pour sooner than that. Because I do have some that is from Resin Pro. They have really good resin. If you guys ever use the resin, I do recommend them. Okay, I'm going to let that cure up, and then we will come back and finish filling it up. There's probably going to end up being a line, because I'm still going to use the same deep pour, but I don't know if I'll be able to do it tonight or later. But anyways, I'll see you guys when it's time to do the next pour. So I'll see you guys then. Bye.
Okay, guys, so this is still really soft, so it's not completely cured. So I went ahead and mixed 250 more gram of resin because of I want to add it, same deep pour. That's why you see all these bubbles down in there. I want to add it before that completely cures, hopefully prevent a line between the two. And I did the same thing. I just added a little bit of the gold super sparkle and 1 drop of the Octopus Fluids Resin Ink Sun. That way it's the same color and everything. So, bubbles and all. Let's get this in there. Hopefully those bubbles will pop. But, you know, I don't know how well this resin's going to degas. I wouldn't think it's going to degas very well, but it'd shock me if it did. This angel holds 23.211 ounces. It's by Let's Resin, and it's on the back of the mold back here. I like how they put how much resin that you need when you're doing their molds. See a little bit of a wire hanging up right there, which I would love for it to get down in there. I hope it stays, but who knows? So I'd like to do a solid color on the bottom of this, a solid base. It's got a little bit of room. I think I'll have enough room to do a bit of a solid base. But, all right. We'll let that cure up, come back, and finish it off with just a little bit more resin. So I'll see you guys then.
Hey guys, so this is cured. I have 50 gram of resin measured here. I still have 40 in my cup over there. I'm going to put some of this mica powder in here because we're going to do our final, maybe a little bit more, our final layer on our angel. I'm using the eye candy koi yellow. Now you all guys know that if you use eye candy, there is a link and a discount code in the description box for 10% off of all eye candy products. All right. Let me get this mixed up. I did not mix this resin in the debubbler. I figured I'm putting mica powder in it, and it's just going to be for the bottom of this angel. And I don't think this angel is going to be very pretty anyways, because of the way I painted the top of it. I just don't think it's going to look good. And then filled it with purple. Yeah. So, guess I'm not trying as hard as I could to make this look pretty. Just because I know it's not going to turn out the way I want it. But I'm still trying to make it look decent. But I think this yellow will help bring out the yellow that's in the flowers and the yellow that we put in the resin. Just don't want any lumps of powder mix floating around. All right, now I think this will be plenty of resin to cover this up. I want those little pieces of flour that's sticking up to get covered because I want a flat bottom. Okay. Almost. I think I've got one little flower there. If I can't get it to get covered over, then I'm going to have to trim it off. And that's okay. All right. I think we can hold just a little bit more. But he's about full. I'm just going to leave it where it's at. That last little drip off there. All right, guys. That is it for this angel. It has taken me days, but we are finally on our last layer. We will let that cure up, and then we will come back for a demold. So I will see you guys then. Hey guys, so this has cured up. So let's get it out of here and see how ugly it is. I know it's going to be ugly. That purple. Oh, well, it's stuck. Okay. First time using this mold, and it's stuck to the resin. Let's pull it off here. There we go. It actually didn't damage it. Okay. Oh well. I don't see me making this again anyways. I don't know. I might. We'll see. Because if it's ugly, I'm going to have to make one just to make it look prettier. Okay. Let's get it out of there. Yeah, it's ugly. Alright, let me get this mold flipped back the right way. Here we go. Alright. She got a little bubble on the bottom of her chin. I could probably paint her face up a little bit. Paint this little flower up. Maybe her hands and things. And make it look pretty. Okay, I do like the flowers in there though. Got a little trimming to do. Alright, let me turn some light off. Yep, the other light. Which I do have the doors open and there is a window there in front of me. But that is pretty. Okay. Not as ugly as I thought it would be. And like I said, I'll see what I can do with painting with some acrylic markers and see if I can fix this up before I take a picture. Alright guys, I will see you all back for the next video. Bye.